What's up, everybody? It's Hunter Avalone here, and right away you probably can tell this is a bit of a different style than my usual content. However, this video is extremely important. This is a video we both feel very compelled to make. In this video, we plan on telling you all our personal experience with an unplanned pregnancy and how that shaped our stance on abortion. Joining me today is the mother of my child and my wonderful fiance, Carissa Keeley.
Today we plan on not only telling our personal story, but also providing irrefutable proof that abortion is wrong, not only from a moral standpoint, but also an intellectual one. A little over a year ago, we found ourselves in an unexpected situation. We got pregnant just a few months after moving in together, and if you were to ask any pro-choice advocate, we would be a prime example of a warranted abortion.
Surveys conducted over the past several years found that the largest reason for women pursuing an abortion, 98.3%, was due to elective reasons. Now, we were both blessed to be in a decent financial situation. However, we certainly met some of this criteria. I know personally, I was really scared. I did not feel ready, I didn't feel old enough, and I certainly didn't feel ready to take on that kind of responsibility. Those reasons alone make up 32% of reasons for abortion.
As the stress grew, it put a serious toll on our relationship, which was already undeveloped before we found out about the pregnancy.
I certainly have a lot of regrets, and I let my anxiety and the fear of the unknown cloud my judgment, and it caused me to make some very rash decisions involving our relationship.
Hunter grew really distant, and it caused our relationship to slowly burn out. There was definitely a point in time in which we were in a very poor relationship, which makes up 12 to 13% of the reason why women like me get an abortion. Despite all of this, abortion was never an option.
I think going through an unplanned pregnancy, we can both really empathize a lot more with people who do pursue an abortion. We both understand how flat out terrifying it can be, and the temptation to alleviate that stress quickly can sometimes cloud your judgment. I know also for a lot of men, there's that temptation to run. Like I said, I was scared, and although I was physically present, mentally I was running far, far away. I didn't want to take responsibility for my actions, and I didn't want to face the fact that I was a father. But I look back now, and there's so much that I just wish I'd handled differently, because taking responsibility and being a father has easily been the best thing I've ever done. Despite the fact that statistically it would have been completely understandable for us both to pursue an abortion, considering the situation we were in. However, choosing life was the right decision for all of us. And no matter how poor or how scared or how immature you may feel, there is virtually no excuse to pursue an abortion.
As both a woman and as someone who has experienced an unplanned pregnancy, there is no question in my mind that abortion is wrong no matter how you look at it.
There are disturbing similarities between pro-choice logic today and Nazi ideology from the 1940s.
The United Nations was formed shortly after World War II, with one of its primary objectives being to hold nations accountable to uphold crucial human rights.
The UN made the provision that all members of the human family have the right to inherent dignity as well as freedom, justice, and peace. By using these provisions, the UN meant to ensure that no people group, whether classified by race, sex, age, or any other conceivable category, would face the humanitarian atrocities of discrimination, violence, and genocide which took place during World War II.
A common tactic of rationalization when there are genocidal patterns is that of dehumanizing the victim.
David Livingstone Smith, the co-founder and director of the Institute for Cognitive Science and Evolutionary Psychology at the University of New England, talks about this in regards to Nazi Germany's rationalization of their treatment of the Jews.
When people dehumanize others, they actually conceive of them as subhuman creatures. Only then can the process liberate aggression and exclude the target of aggression from the moral community.
Predictably, this is exactly what we're seeing today. According to Amy Littlefield, a staunchly pro-choice journalist, but if we are truly to defend access to abortion and the personhood of pregnant people, we have to be able to say unequivocally that the aborted fetus is not a person. It is not a baby. It is medical waste.
Another tactic, which is common between Hitler's genocidal rampage and how society interprets abortion, is how we distribute blame. In order to brainwash such a large majority of Germany, Hitler had to push the ideology that Jews were actually the perpetrators, making the rest of Germans' lives so much worse. The Nazi Party provided the population hope, but most importantly, they gave the population a scapegoat of which to assign blame. It was through this means that the communists and Jews were hunted down, prosecuted, imprisoned, or killed.
This is exactly what we see with the issue of abortion. During World War II, 6 million Jews were tragically massacred. From 1970 to the present day, there have been over 45 million abortions. The media has changed the narrative from the babies being the victims to the woman being the victim, and the unwanted pregnancy being the perpetrator, making her life so much more difficult. Fetuses are decried as subhuman, and they are blamed and eradicated for the sake of making the parents' lives easier. Sadly, this makes sense. Claim that any group you wish to eradicate is subhuman. Push the agenda that this people group is to blame for all of your problems, and you can find justification to annihilate them.
This brings us to our point that despite the disturbing rationalization that society divulges in, fetuses are part of the human family. They have the rights of inherent dignity, freedom, justice, and peace, of which they are being deprived on a daily basis. Fetuses, once they are implanted, are the beginning stages of humanity.
It is without question that the fetus is alive. The scientific definition of life is the condition that distinguishes organisms from inorganic objects and dead organisms, being manifested by growth through metabolism, reproduction, and the power of adaptation to environment through changes originating internally. While the fetus must rely on the mother for a good environment and nutrition to grow, without complications, that fetus will form into a fully functioning human being. Fetuses have a metabolism. Their cells are constantly reproducing, and they adapt to their environment as they continue to grow into fully formed human beings. It is without a question that the fetus is a human life.
So we are left with the understanding that fetuses are, yes, part of the human family, and their rights, according to the provisions laid out by the UN, should be fully recognized. There is a genocide of the unborn going on, which is scarily similar to Hitler's eradication of the Jews. But it's decried as not only okay, but empowering just because the oppressed people group cannot fight back.
Pro-choice advocates also love to pretend to be pro-woman to somehow validate their support for the slaughter of the unborn. However, abortion can result in significant harm to the mother as well. A 2011 study published in the British Journal of Psychiatry found that women who had an abortion are 34% more likely to develop anxiety, 37% more likely to experience depression, 110% more likely to abuse alcohol, and 155% more likely to commit suicide.
Whenever abortion is brought up, pro-choice activists are quick to bring up the most extreme circumstances, such as rape or incest. It's important to note, rape only makes up 0.3% of reasons for abortion, but regardless of that percentage, abortion, even in the cases of rape or incest, is wrong. As we've already proven, abortion is taking the life of another human. And a human is a human no matter how it's conceived. There is certainly progress to be made. For example, it is disgusting that rapists can legally fight for custody in certain states. But we don't need to take the tragedy of rape and add the tragedy of abortion. Two wrongs do not make a right.
People also justify abortion by bringing up scenarios where it may be necessary to save the life of the mother. This only makes up 0.1% of reasons for abortion, but this is the one and only time abortion is a viable option. No one should be required to sacrifice their life to save the life of another. Anytime adoption is suggested as an alternative to abortion, pro-choice activists are quick to say that there aren't enough families waiting to adopt. Now, I agree there are complications with adoption. For example, it should certainly be made to be more affordable. But it is a flat-out lie that there are not enough families waiting to adopt. In fact, there are more hopeful adoptive parents than children currently in need of adoption.
Abortion advocates like to argue that a child may have a bad life, therefore abortion may be necessary. There are countless individuals who are born in destitute conditions who grew up to live happy and fulfilling lives. I know it might sound anecdotal, but as long as there's a small possibility that the child may grow up to live a happy and fulfilling life, it is not your call to make.
The last common pro-choice argument is that abortion helps with overpopulation. Never mind the fact that this way of thinking actually motivated a good part of Hitler's racist ideology. For the sake of argument, we'll humor this overpopulation point. Overpopulation is a ridiculous attempt to try and justify abortion, and it is no different than claiming we should eradicate any other people group due to overpopulation. Finally, and most importantly, earlier this year, a study conducted by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found that the fertility rate in the US has been falling for years, dipping so low that the nation's population would be declining without immigration. Once our baby girl was born, it quite literally changed everything. I quickly realized that my mentality before was disgustingly immature. I no longer wanted to run away. I wanted to run right towards my baby with arms open. This entire experience was extremely difficult for everyone. However, I think this helped me learn that although instant gratification might seem better in the moment, taking responsibility will lead to long-term fulfillment. I recently read a quote, and I think it perfectly describes my feelings towards this entire situation. It says, "I'm so glad I didn't get what I thought I wanted."
The best things in life are sometimes unexpected, and although our baby was a surprise, she's only filled us with more joy and motivation.
So if you or a friend are in a scary situation involving an unplanned pregnancy, choose life. It will be the best thing you've ever done.